Welcome back to the channel. Heading into December of 2022, there really wasn't a hotter series out there from DC, other than maybe Batman, Superman, World's Finest, than Chip Zdarsky's Batman. We get to Batman 130, and it felt like not the right conclusion to what was a very epic storyline. We knew that Batman went somewhere at the end of that comic book issue, and they teased that, like, who is Bruce Wayne and where is he and all that stuff. And we finally find out this week in Batman 131 with Mike Hawthorne on art. And I personally don't believe this is a good direction for that. And here to talk to me about that is Gabe Hernandez. How you doing, Gabe?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on. I'm happy to talk about Batman and Chip Zdarsky's new story arc, which is not the failsafe arc.
I will say this. I was concerned Mike Hawthorne taking over for Jorge Jimenez was going to be a debacle. Mike Hawthorne's art in that Wonder Woman series from Stephanie Phillips was absolutely atrocious. It was like you couldn't really even look at it. It was so bad. The art looks absolutely fine here. That is not the issue. It's not quite Jorge Jimenez, but it's not nearly as far off as I anticipated. The art's good.
There was no problem. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's not on the same level as Jimenez, but it's perfectly good here. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Characters look great. The action looks great. The strange design for a certain character looks weird, but also great. Yeah, it's perfectly fine art here, and I'm happy with that.
But I'm surprised. It's the story that really turned me off here. Yeah. It feels like they've been telling the same exact story, not just with Batman, but all throughout DC Comics for like 24 to maybe even 30 months at this point. It's just going to alternate multiverses with different versions of the characters that are just slightly different than the regular versions in the DC regular, obviously Earth Prime kind of stuff. And it gets very tiring. Not to mention, we just had Batman transported to an alternate universe for Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. That was the big event book. Why did Chip Zdarsky and the editorial staff at DC not know that maybe we don't want to follow up the exact same storyline a month after it ends in the regular big crossover event?
Baffled. I'm baffled by Chip Zdarsky's choice in taking the title in this direction. Exactly to your point, we just had this where all the heroes went off into their own little dream worlds, and they were in an alternate universe where they had to interact with characters that weren't quite the same. And so, just coming out of Failsafe, which had a really strong start, really strong middle, and whiffed it at the end, comes into a new arc. And where is Batman now? He's in an alternate Earth, an alternate universe where all the characters are not even vastly different. They're just slightly different. And it is just so tired and it's so boring. And I was almost tempted to fall asleep through this issue. I get that Zdarsky wants to start building up a story, but I mean, if this is the hook, this is a hook that is dull and bent, and I don't think anybody really cares anymore. And I really hope he can pull it out, because this first issue in this new arc was just a snooze fest.
Yeah, and the only character that's really changed a lot, obviously, is Jim Gordon. He's apparently a skeleton, and I believe that Jim is talking to this version of Bruce Wayne, where Bruce Wayne is dead on this world where he's at. But no one else can see this version of Jim Gordon because he's a skeleton. But I believe Bruce can hear him. I'm not sure if he can see him, but I think he can, maybe.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. There's a sort of walking, talking skeleton that is Jim Gordon, because he's got the mustache and the trench coat, and he calls himself Jimbo. But it's not clear that anybody can see him. It's not clear that anybody can hear him. We don't know why he's there, and he offers nothing to the story other than he's present. So already you're adding things that are not necessarily intriguing, but confusing. And again, between being confused and bored, I'm not sure where to go with this issue. So that's not a good sign moving forward.
And then another thing that happens is they take Harvey Dent and they change this character a bit as well. He's no longer Two-Face. Now he's Judge Dredd. He's hopped up on Venom that Bane uses, obviously, to be superpowered. And he goes around from house to house. And if you're sane, he lets you live. But if you're insane, he judges you and kills you on the spot, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, that at least is a bit of an interesting twist, because it makes him an amalgam of a couple different characters, and so you can go with that. And there's a fairly decent action sequence where Bruce sees that this version of Dent is harassing some residents inside of an apartment building, and he gets involved, and things go really haywire, especially when I think it's Firebug shows up. I think it is Firefly shows up, and there's a little bit of exciting action there, but I mean, there's really nothing to it. It's very two-dimensional mashup of two different characters, which is fine, but again, there's nothing particularly spectacular about it.
Well, the good thing is he does save the strong, young a minority female character, and learns that this character is basically me in this Gotham. This character, I think her name is Jewel or something like that. She's basically me. And then he sees her through his eyes. And I just have a feeling, a little sinking suspicion that this character might be the true hero in this story.
Might be the true hero. And at the very least, possibly the next version of Robin, if you want to look at it that way. There's all kinds of potential. I'm sure they're going to do something with that character. I highly doubt this character would be introduced if they weren't going to develop her into some alt version of a character we already know. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, it's just another take on another character that we probably going to see.
It's just another boring, played-out trope.
Yeah.
They've already introduced this version of Robin in I Am Batman.
I mean, the most amazing thing about this issue is how unoriginal it is. This is stuff we've seen a dozen times before. And I don't say that to beat up on Zdarsky, but man, oh man, coming out of the failsafe arc. All right, we'll see where the next issue goes. But I mean, just really, this issue was completely unremarkable in every way.
The final character that we do get to meet that's just a little bit different is Selena Kyle. She's no longer in love with Bruce Wayne in this version of Gotham. She's not even a petty criminal or a thief or something like that. She appears to be some type of crime boss where if you step out of line, she's going to, claw your neck or something and kill you.
Yeah, she's Catwoman without the mask. There's slightly different, doesn't even qualify in this case. She's still just Catwoman because she has these, she wears these gloves that have claws on it, and she will scratch you if you step out of line or backtalk her, which is fine. But at the same time, it's not even that much of a departure from the character we already know. So again, looking for something new, looking for something fresh, you're not finding it here.
Do you think that maybe my expectations were too high because the first few issues of Failsafe were so good that I was like, wow, Chip Zdarsky's really going to knock this one out of the park, and maybe he's just coming down to earth. Like, this doesn't even, I guess I would use the word average at best.
Zdarsky set his own bar. I mean, the beginning of the Failsafe arc, pretty much all the way through to issue 130, set a really high bar for how you do a good, solid Batman story. There was clever stakes. There was lots of action. There was a villain who was worth Batman's time as a worthy adversary for Batman. It was all there. And then you had 130, which was ridiculous. Then you come into this, and it just feels bland and mediocre. It's as if Zdarsky cleared his high bar and then fell right into the water pit. We'll see.
I guess he wants to explore what Bruce Wayne means to Gotham, or perhaps what Gotham means to Bruce Wayne, because we have this Gotham that has no Bruce Wayne Batman, and obviously it's come under tyranny and all that kind of stuff. I might have heard the word bigots or something in there a couple of times, but it feels like that's already been explored. There needs to be a more clever way to say what you want to say about the character rather than rehashing everyone else's leftovers and not really upping the ante. At least when he did Failsafe, he was taking some stories that were connected to Grant Morrison and stuff like that, but it felt like he was upping the stakes and making, he's turning up the volume on it, making it a little bit more exciting. In this, it feels like he muted everything and made it less exciting.
The very end of the Dark Crisis event and the tie-in books literally was called World Without a Justice League. And then the big tie-in with Batman was literally World Without a Batman. And so what are we doing here? We're putting Bruce Wayne in an alternate universe where he gets to find out what it's like to have a world without a Batman. It is beyond copy-paste. And I just...
they probably could have just had him use this story, but for that World Without a Justice League thing, it probably would have been better.
Yeah. Now, I mean, to be fair with Zdarsky, I mean, the next issue could be fantastic. I mean, we just needed to get the setup out of the way. But I mean, if this is the big hook to get you into this arc, it's just not working for me. Definitely not working for me.
We shall see, but it was hot, and obviously there is hope. There's no Jorge Jimenez, but Mike Hawthorne did not drop the ball. Turns out it was really Chip Zdarsky and the editorial staff this week. Do you have any final words, Gabe?
No, I mean, give it a chance, but give it a chance as long as your patience and your pocketbook allows. Don't read things that you don't like. That's what we're here for. And just enjoy more comics. And if you want more comics besides what the big two are giving you, look for them. Look for the smaller publishers and the indies. There's stuff out there. You just have to look for it. If
you're unaware of what happened in Batman 130, where Gabe and myself really felt like Chip Zdarsky and DC Comics dropped the ball, what felt like a really epic storyline, and they just did not hit it out of the park on that last swing when we had Batman stuck on the moon and stuff like that. Definitely check this one out. I like ridiculous storytelling. I like Batman overcoming the odds and everything like this, but this was a bridge too far for me as far as Batman and what he's able to accomplish. If you don't see the video here, there's also a link in the video description.